This is part 2 of a series. Head to faptic.com/mastering-data to find the other parts, or jump in here.
So you mentioned goals there. You got your vision, the long term, the big, right? And then we move it down to something that we can measure, something that we can change, that moves us towards that. And I think goals are often misunderstood. They're sort of pivoted by the people who take them on. We see this a lot in sales organizations, right? A measurement that is poorly thought out leads to unintended consequences, right? Because incentives matter. So ideally, when we come up with the goals, we want something that's easy to measure. And there are ways of working with things that are less easy to measure. So there's something called a Likert scale, where you can take people's opinions and then that becomes sort of measurable, but it's quite laborious. For the leading indicator goals, we want something that's easy to get, easy to look at, and tells us we're on the right track. And then we'll have lagging indicators that give us an outcome that we want, that we can look back on. And both those things are needed to make this work. For instance, we want to make sure that we have a goal which reduces, say, the company's risk or increases the company's revenue by 5%, but those are lagging indicators. What we might need as a leading indicator is something that's shorter to come back to us, easier to collect. So you might, for instance, say, increase the cart value from our e-commerce website by 10%. Now, we want this to keep the data project focused, so it's a clear goal to make this happen, but with enough scope to explore the problem. You don't want to prescribe exactly what's going to be done, because then we don't get to plug in these great brains of these problem solvers in the organization. It just falls to the person setting the vision, right? We want to use that experience, that expertise and inquiry to solve problems. So Alex, what have you seen in terms of goal setting that's worked well and hasn't worked well?
You're completely right, Anthony, on the part on saying that goals should be more specific than vision, but you might be lagging on setting too specific goals. So I would say it's a bit of a juggling act, but it's not impossible. Goals are pretty much the fuel to get us to our vision. For example, I've seen goals aimed at enhancing financial forecasting accuracy by 25%. Using advanced analytics. So pretty much by focusing on utilizing sophisticated data analytics to refine financial predictions, organization can achieve better strategic planning or financial stability. So improving forecasting accuracy allows for more informed decision, optimized resource allocation, and enhanced overall financial performance. In my experience, when these goals are effectively set and pursued, they lead to substantial and impactful outcomes. In insurance, this will be lower premiums for customers or higher market share for the company, which in turn gives value to investors.
It's probably the software engineer in me. It's probably a bit of the architect, right? And defining problems in a way that gives the levity to go off and solve them in the way that the expertise in the team has the ability to do so. But I like to use user stories for this, and this is from software engineering. But you might say, as an organization with an ESG pledge, so sustainability, I want to reduce the wasted energy used in the production of our products by 25% through better use of data and other resources, right? So don't want to limit it too much. If there's something outside the scope of data, we still want to solve that problem. Or maybe as a user trading act, as a user trading app, I want to invest in similar companies, so thematic investment, rather than individual companies where I have to understand the landscape. These sort of phrases allow you to share that information. And you can go into acceptance criteria after that as well to say exactly what that would mean. But those are ways that I would look at setting those initial targets. So we've set a vision. We've chosen a goal, or a few goals, and now it's time to build that team. So we've got a cross-functional team, and I've worked in those ways before, and I found that the people who volunteer to be part of the solution are usually the most motivated. Now, that's not to say that everyone has the awareness that the opportunity is there, or they have the time that the opportunity is there. So sometimes we might need to tap team members who we think would be a good fit on the shoulder. Sometimes we need to arrange cover for them so that they can leave some or all of their normal duties to go off and do this, remember, strategic initiative for the organization. But when building a founding team for a data strategy, whether that's sort of a skunk works, something new and interesting in the organization to develop something for the future that builds into that longer term data strategy, who have you seen have been on the bus and it was successful, or maybe didn't make the bus and there were problems as a result, in your experience, Alex?
So in my opinion, in order to build a founding team for a long-term data strategy, I've seen that the one that has the most success would be two skills, or two key components of every person and every team. On the one side would be skills, and on the second side would be passion.
Excellent.
So you could have a really great team of data scientists, data engineers, business analysts, IT support, along with strong leadership, but you will get 90% of the way in. That 10% at the end is always passion. Similar to marathon runners or any kind of long-term haul, you'll need the passion to get you over that last hurdle. The best teams I've worked with are composed of individuals who are not only skilled but passionate on completing the mission. They take ownership of their roles and are committed to the success of the project, not just individual success. However, when key players are missing, so I'm leaning more on the skill side, so if key players are missing, several challenges can arise. For instance, lacking a skilled data engineer can result in inefficient data pipelines or integration issues. Similarly, without a strong business analyst, the team might struggle to align data insights with business objectives, leading to missed opportunities and misaligned goals. So there's a plethora of examples, Anthony, in this case, where if the team is lacking skills, you might actually look outside to enhance what you currently have in your team.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll come back to that because I think there's a lot to discuss around that.
This is the end of this part. Interested in the rest of the series? Follow Faptic Technology on LinkedIn or visit faptic.com/mastering-data.